Hi, and welcome to Paulo TV. I'm Steve Roitstein. You may be wondering why you're looking at a bunch of junk. That's going to become apparent in a minute. This is an instructional video about how to create a beat using found percussion with Pro Tools First. Let's get started. I've saved some time by taking a few steps ahead of time. So I already opened up Pro Tools First and signed in and all that stuff because that's required. And let me just click on the dock of my Mac. And now I've got Pro Tools First open. I need to go to the File menu, Create New. And now I'm going to use the class naming standards. By the way, this is a lesson, a project for Sound Recording 1 in Miami Dade College. But if you're not in that class, just hang out and enjoy. By the way, if you like the content that's here on this channel, just go ahead and subscribe, click the little bell, and that way every time I upload something new, you will be notified. The class naming standards, first initial, last name. I'm using my first initial and last name. Obviously, you will use yours. And the name of the project, which in this case is Found Sound. If you have a version number, you can put it there, but I'm not going to do that. Want to make sure that Create from Template is not checked. And also, this backup to cloud comes up as a default with that option checked every time. You always have to make sure that you uncheck that. For this class, I've decided it's much easier for us just to back up locally to your own drive. So when I click here on Create, no, it opens up a blank session. And we want to be using bars and beats. So if for some reason this counter is on something else like minutes and seconds, make sure it's on bars and beats. I personally like to see the counter. I'm kind of addicted to that. You don't have to use it if you don't want to. But I go to the window menu and choose, I'm sorry, not the counter, the transport. I choose the transport. And there it is. You can kind of put it wherever you want. So no tracks are there yet. We're going to start by doing something we haven't done yet, and that is importing a standard MIDI file. That standard MIDI file is attached to the assignment page for the class in our learning management system, Blackboard. I've already downloaded that to save some time. So here's how you import it after you have it downloaded and you know where it is on your computer. You go to the File menu and choose Import. And then I have to navigate to it, and it's right here. I put it on my desktop originally. Click Open. Now we have some options that are going to show up. New tracks are going to, the destination of the new tracks are going to be instrument tracks. The location, session start. Want to make sure that import tempo map from MIDI file is checked. That way our session is going to take on the tempo of the standard MIDI file. Click OK. And there we go. We have two instrument tracks, and they adapted themselves already to the name of each track. This one's called kick. This one's called claps. And you can see in each of those, there's a relatively short clip. I can zoom in a little bit so you can see more of it. So here's a MIDI clip triggering notes on whatever sound we designed to put in there. Same with the claps. So I would like you to go ahead and follow these directions so that yours ends up sounding like the one that I set up for you. In this insert column, that's where we have to put the instrument. We're going to go multi-channel plugin, instrument, and I've got a couple things here on this computer, but I want you to use expand which comes with Pro Tools First. When you bring up this plugin, it defaults to this sound here, but we're going to change that. We're going to click here, go to drums, and the bank that we want is kicks menu. And then you can now go to the same, do a similar thing here to the claps, multi-channel plugin, instrument, expand, and now it brings up basically the same thing, only a different instance of it. And on this one, we're going to click here, and instead of that default, we're going to go to the drums, but this time the claps menu. All right, I'm going to close that. Now I believe if we press play, we should hear something. Oops. So there you can see it's got a kick track and a claps track. We're also going to need a click. So I'm going to go to the track menu, and at the bottom of this menu, create click track. And now I'll just rewind and hear it with the click. I'm not hearing the click for some reason. Oh, that's because I changed the preferences. If you want to hear the click the whole time, which might be helpful for you, and if you're not hearing it, it probably defaulted with it, but I had changed it previously. You can double click down here on this metronome thing. And if you want to hear it all the time, you just say play, click during play and record. So let's hear that. You can see maybe now why I decided not to listen to it, because the kick and the claps sort of cover the beat anyway, so I don't really need it to play constantly. And that's kind of nice because I'm not a huge fan of the sound. So I would say only during count off. And down here I have this option checked, only during record. And it gives me a 2-bar count off, as you will find out in a minute. So now we have to get ready to do some recording. And that's where the junk comes in, but I'll explain that in a couple minutes because we have to get set up first. Our audio tracks. If we go to the track menu, choose new, and I'm going to create 3 mono audio tracks. For now, I'm just going to leave the default name, but right away, I'm going to double click on each of them and name them appropriately. What I did is I found, as I was looking around for some junk to record, I was in the kitchen, so I got a couple things. I got this plastic container that has sugar-free, pure, fresh mint gum inside it. And when you shake it, it sounds like this. So it's almost like a shaker. And then I got this mortar and pestle, this wooden thing that is used to crush up, I guess, herbs and stuff. And it kind of sounds like a clave when you grab the stick and hit it on the other thing. So those two things, I'm going to call this track here, instead of audio 1. We always want to name our tracks, keep things organized. I'm going to call that one clave, even though it's really not, but it kind of sounds like one. Then I'm going to click next, and this second audio track I'm going to name Chequere, because it kind of reminds me of that Afro-Cuban chequere instrument, the plastic gum thing. And finally, I'm going to have a place to have a vocal. So I'll just call this vocal. Okay, so we're kind of set up. I'd like to save, Command S. All right, so the recording that I did on the clave and the chequere were done ahead of time. You've got a couple choices here. If you have, well, actually, a few choices. If you have a microphone, an external microphone, and an audio interface, you can use that. If you don't, then you've got probably still two more choices: the built in microphone on your computer or a mobile device, such as your cell phone. You just have to kind of know where you're going with this. If you have an interface and a mic, you need to go to this I/O column, in, out, and the input has to be set to whatever the appropriate input is for your microphone or your built-in mic, and you should see it there. So I'm assuming that that will work. The clave, I actually recorded what they call wild. I wasn't actually really listening to the track when I was doing it. I was recording it here in the kitchen. I didn't like the sound because the kitchen is very reverberant. And no matter how close I put the mortar and pestle to the mic of the cell phone, it was very ambient sounding. It sounded too reverby. So we went into the laundry room, closed the door, and did it in there. So what I'm going to do is what I already prepared the file. And once I had that file I just used to record it, I used the voice memo on my iPhone and recorded it and tried to stay as much in rhythm as I could without really hearing the track because, like I said, it was recorded what we call wild without any time reference. And I thought it was okay, and it turned out to be okay. So I actually shot that over to the computer. And now what I'm going to do is see if I can find it here somewhere. It should be here somewhere, probably in downloads. Yeah, it got called, a very generic name, new recording. And it's a .m4a, probably not the best professional recording format, but hey, we're getting her done, right? If you don't have a mic, you still got to record somehow. So I used a cell phone. I'm going to drag it from here and put it right here. Didn't get a great level here. I would have probably rather had something that looked a little beefier than that, but I think it's gonna be okay. I'm gonna leave that there for now. The other thing is the check at 8 track. And somewhere around here, it's probably there, but I'm actually going to try and record it here. My setup is a lot different than yours because I'm trying to do a bunch of stuff so that I can make this video and do all the online stuff that I need to do. So I'm actually going to do another way of doing a wild recording. I'm going to put this track in record enable so that it can actually see. And now you can see it's hearing the microphone. And I'm soloing this track. I know it's weird, but I'm also going to mute it because it's a little distracting. Just like I said, the way that the setup is for other uses rather than ideal recording. If I wasn't doing this video right now, it would be a little bit simpler. So first of all, before I do that, let me actually listen to the track again. Oops, keep getting that error. Okay, what happened? All right, and there's this other thing coming in. All right, I got the tempo more or less. The click is off, and that's actually fine because I'm just going to do this one wild as well without any reference. I think I was doing something like this when I was experimenting. Yeah, so maybe I'll do that. I'm going to rewind to the beginning and just hit record and play, and that will start recording. If I want to count off, I can have that. In fact, that might not be a bad idea. Let me solo the click as well. And that will stop as soon as the music starts because I've got that setting there. So I'll click here for the count off. It's nice to have the count off if you want to start playing at the beginning. So we've got record, going to hit play, and I'm going to get ready to go. 1, 2, ready, go. All right, we got that buffer overload thing again. But I got a few different ones in there. Finally, I'm going to do some recording on the vocal track using the same microphone I've got here. I'm going to unsolo this and mute it. Well, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to solo the vocal. I'm still going to have my click there. And we'll see what the level is. I suspect it's going to be probably hotter than the gum package. Rewinding to the beginning. Let's see how this goes. And the vocal can be anything you want. I'm just going to do sort of something. I don't know. We'll see. 2, ready, go. And nothing's getting there. Okay. I'm going to undo that. Command Z. The mix, the input, not there. The input has to be, I think it's this one. Yeah, okay. Here we go. I have to mute it. 1, 2, ready. Hey, sexy. All right. Now, really, like I told you, there's no time reference. So all this stuff is going to have to be edited. Now, the clave, I think I'm going to do first. I'm going to save, of course, because I don't want to lose any of this marvelous work. I need to be right now in slip mode, which it already is, because I'm going to do some fine tuning, and I don't want to be locked into the grid. If I get the grabber tool and kind of shove it back here towards the beginning of the song, let's see how that sounds. All right, I had in mind something for that one. I would like the grid to be on 16th notes, and it is. So I'm going to get the trim tool and kind of clean this first one up a little bit. Get the grabber. And I want this first note to be somewhere around beat 3 of bar 1. If I zoom in a little bit, I can see it better. That's pretty good. Somewhere around there. Oops. Didn't mean to do that. Now the next one, again, because I was playing wild, this next one's going to be probably way off from where I wanted it. What I'm going to do just to sort of clean things up is grab this selector tool and take a bunch of this space out in case there was any extra noise in there. Just don't need it. So I'm just going to hit the delete key and do the same thing over here. And that way, why have extra noise if you don't really need it? Back to the the trim tool. And I'm just going to kind of tighten these up. I believe this is going to go on bar 4 or maybe bar 3, beat 3. I think that's where it goes. This second clip could be a little tighter. I don't think it's going to matter that much. Around here. And let's hear what that sounds like with our imported MIDI kick and claps. Rewinding. Once again. This is not fun when the CPU overload keeps coming on. And that's simply because the computer is a little bit overloaded and I haven't quite figured out a way to troubleshoot this so that I can do the video recording and all this at the same time. There's probably an easy way to do it, but I haven't figured it out yet. All right, good. Now what I'm going to do is do something similar with this Check It A track. I can leave this in here. I'm going to unmute the Check It A and rewind and see what that sounds like. I kind of like those last two, so let me see what I can do with those. I really didn't like the finger tapping approach, but maybe these could work. Let's see. And I want that little small note right before the downbeat of bar 2, and then that louder note on the downbeat. Let's see how that works. And same with this one. So I'll do this something similar to what I did on the clave track. Split these up and get it more or less where I want it and see what it sounds like. Let's see. Oh yeah, I'm digging that. Okay, and finally, this sexy vocal that I recorded. Let's hear that. Ah. Mm. Ah. Mm. All right, I'm just going to go for that first I'm going to eliminate everything else. Grab the trim tool. Not that one. That is cheesy as heck. Not that any of this is really something that I would put out, but it's an assignment for God's sake. All right. So where should I put it? Let me think. Maybe, I don't know, somewhere unexpected. Not there. I could maybe align it up with something. Like maybe here. Let's see. Rewind. Play. Yeah, that's fine. Good. All right, I pretty much have it laid out. This MIDI beat that we imported is like 8 bars and an extra downbeat. So now I'm going to kind of work this stuff in for the entire duration of this mini experimental project, which means that I want to turn the grid on because now I'm going to do some editing of these tracks. And I want to keep these clips in their relative position with the rhythm of the song. So we got the bars and beats going. I'm going to change the grid from 16th notes. I had it there just to sort of keep track of the grid mostly for that clave part. And I'm going to change now just to make it easy on myself to quarter notes. It'll make it easier to select the region. So now I'm going to select these first 3 bars. I know it sounds weird, 3 bars, but it'll work because it's really a 1-bar pattern. The only thing is I played it in 3 times, so it kind of gives your ear a little sense of that that's actually like a musician playing an instrument because it's not exactly the same every time that it happens. I clicked and dragged on this track and selected bar 1, 2, and 3. Before I do any editing, though, I always go up here to look at the information about the selection. That region starts on bar 1 and ends on bar 4. It's exactly 3 bars long. That's why we love to have the grid and the slip, because the slip was necessary for all that picky little editing that I was doing and I didn't want to be stuck with adhering to the grid. But the grid is very nice now because it's real easy to select a precise region that lines up with bars and beats. And I'll give you an example of why I'm so paranoid, because sometimes I might forget to turn on the grid mode, and I go in here and I say, okay, well, let me select 3 bars. And it kind of looks like it's there, but when you go here and look at the numbers, you can see it's not precisely to the grid. That's why I'm paranoid, and I always check up there. When I turn the grid on, I don't have to be quite as precise. I can just be more or less close. And there we go. Perfect. So now I'm going to do a repeat, which I believe is Option R on my Mac keyboard. And let me try like 4 repeats. All right, I got a couple extra ones. Zoom out here and kind of get rid of these. I don't think I needed 4. Get rid of those. I'm just repeating those 3 bars. Zooming in, I'm going to now do something similar for the, what is that called? A chickadee. And this is, I guess, a 2-bar pattern. No, well, sort of, I guess it's a 3-bar pattern also. We'll see how it works out. Oops, I almost made a boo-boo. I'm going to try 3 repetitions of this one. Option R for repeat. I don't think that's what I wanted. How do I do this? Okay, I'm going to undo that. Maybe what I can do is, I don't know how the grid got back to 16th notes. Maybe I never put it there. Quarter notes. I'm going to try from bar 1 beat 3 to bar 3 beat 3. I think that's going to be what I want with this particular rhythm. Option R, try 3 of them. That looks more like what I think I want. Let me listen to that. Rewinding. The CPU is dying. Ah, there's an extra clip here. Gotta get rid of that one. 1 clave too many. All right, save. Finally, the select tool again. And I guess this is gonna become, without being too annoying maybe, how about a 2-bar pattern? Repeat that, I don't know, 4 times. Let's see what that does. Yeah, too many. 3 would have been enough. Undo, repeat, Option R. 3. Let's try that. It didn't actually do what I was hoping. Oh, why did that happen? Well, it's easier for me, rather than actually think, to just get rid of the extra clips that extend too far. Rewinding to the beginning. I think we're probably close to being done. Zoom in a tiny bit. Save and play. Not very much fun having the CPU overload, but you will not have that problem, I hope. Nice. Okay. Now we have to get ready to submit the assignment. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to do what they call a bounce. I'm just going to select this whole region. You can do it up here in the ruler. You can pretty much do it anywhere. This would probably be fine. I like to start at the end and leave a little extra room at the end. If your song that you're mixing has like a big, long, like last note with reverb and stuff, you want to make sure not to chop it off. So if that was the case, you might start back here and make the selection like that. I don't have to select the individual tracks because this bounce is going to be whatever is going out this mix. And they're all going to, in yours it's probably going to say 1 and 2. On mine it says 19 and 20 because, like I said, my setup here is a little bit more ambitious than most people, but maybe not. So the way to create this mix is to go to the file menu and choose export. Go to the audio mix. It's going to be this same output that we're listening to, wave file, interleaved. The rest of it, leave the same. I'm going to change the name slightly here and add mix to the name so that I'm just, it's easier not to get confused. I could put it here where it's defaulting to, but because Pro Tools First has such a wacky file management system, I really don't want to do that. So I'm just going to click choose and put it on the desktop. That way I know where it is and I don't have to go digging all over for it. Click open. All right, so now it's going to the desktop. And it clicks export. And it does it. So before I send it out, I always do quality control. Make sure that your click is turned off. I really don't want to hear your mix with the click. So when you go and you actually double check it before you submit it, and you hear the click in the background or you notice it later, either, do a new mix or maybe resubmit it if you already submitted it. So I'm going to go to the desktop and I'm going to double click on this wave file. And that's on my Mac, it's going to automatically open up iTunes and I'll hear it in iTunes. And let's see what that sounds like. Oops. There we go. All right, that's what I was hoping it would sound like. The last thing that I want you to do before you submit it is grab a mobile device or use QuickTime or whatever you like to use and just give me doesn't have to be the whole duration of the song, although it's fine if you want to. It's a very short song. And just take a shot of the screen if it's with your mobile device or if it's with QuickTime or whatever. Just make sure I can see all this stuff. That way I want to be able to look at it in case there's any issue with it. I can tell by looking at the session as it plays. So that is something you will also create, and you'll submit both of those on the Blackboard assignment page. And you should be just fine if you followed all these directions. If for some reason there's a problem, well, the great thing about submitting it on time, you stick with the due date that's in the calendar, and you can always revise it and improve your score. I hope you enjoyed this instructional video, how to create a beat using found sounds with Pro Tools First. If you like what you heard and you would like to click subscribe, go ahead and do that. Click the little bell. That way you'll get notifications when new stuff is uploaded, even from other music business classes that I teach. Might be of interest to you. This is Steve Roitstein saying adios.